we're going to be discussing this video here, the day before developers have lost their mind. Let's check out what this is going on with.
At this point, I just sincerely have no clue what's going on with the day before. This is one of the most confusing game products, whatever, that I've followed in many years. Because every time they do one thing, I think, oh, maybe this is what's going on. And then they do another, and I'm just right back to square one. I followed this whole thing, I've covered it in depth, I've made the video documentary on the main channel, which is almost 1 million views, I think, at this point, which is pretty good. And I'm still no closer to knowing what the fuck they're doing. So basically, if you didn't follow the day before, I'll try and give you like the cliff notes before we get into their latest video release, which I read the comments on before I watched the video. I've not actually watched the video yet, and I just don't know what to say. So basically, the day before, coming from a studio nobody's ever heard of called Fntastic, I don't know how you actually are supposed to pronounce it, a company that is under Mytona, which is a Russian games publisher. I think they mostly do mobile.
I'm looking at these videos in the background, and the only thing I can think and focus on is this right here, the day before Muck Reynolds. It's like a rip-off of McDonald's.
Mobile games, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. And they said, here's the day before trailer, an amazing survival game that's going to change the world. It's going to change the survival landscape.
Bro, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'd be surprised if this game even releases. They'll probably cancel the game and drop an app.
Zombies, building bases, terrain, massive area, AAA graphics, gunplay, PvP, customization, all these amazing things that people inside that genre have been fiending for a real long time. And then weird stuff started happening, because obviously nowadays you see a trailer and you should not believe it, because trailers are very easy to lie. And I guess I should qualify that one a little bit. They're not very easy to lie, but lying on a trailer is vastly easier than lying with a game. You can put together basically a vertical slice of game a decade before the
I was just getting ready to say a vertical slice, which is exactly what they did.
And probably play better than the actual finished game, because there's a lot less dependency, there's a lot more stuff going on in a real game, and that's why you'll typically see even AAA games release a trailer, a big hype, you know, E3 or whatever else, and then years down the line the game comes out and it just looks worse. It might not even look very similar to what they showed previously. They might actually change all the game mechanics. It might be a completely different game. If you're familiar with things like Ubisoft's Pirate game, which is still somehow in development hell. So the trailer came out, everyone was excited, and then they kept doing things like, oh, come tune in for this new trailer we're going to drop on this live stream for IGN.
And then they would post a fucking, or they'd show a brand new app that they're dropping, or they would post gameplay of nothing but fucking a person walking around an empty ass city with like 3 zombies in it, yeah.
And then they just sat there with the live stream playing music in the background for 7 hours and then said, oh, technical difficulties, we're not going to be able to do it, come back next week. And then they were late again, and then they just released an MP4 trailer that a child should have been able to set up. And then, of course, they took down their website, which sparked a little bit of confusion. Then they kept pushing back the release date over and over again, giving reasons like, oh, we're going to upgrade to Unreal Engine 5, because apparently that's something that needed to happen for a game that already looked amazing. And then they started releasing things like emails to content creators saying, come tune in on this date because we're going to release something amazing and it's going to be a playable experience, obviously baiting millions of people into being like, oh my god, are we going to get to play the day before? Finally, it's been over a year, are we going to be able to play? And then they released Prop Night, which is essentially Dead by Daylight, just
I forgot about that one.
Copy of Dead by Daylight with a little bit more cartoony graphics. So essentially they were cashing in on their name and their hype to promote another game that they'd been working on as a small studio. And then people started looking into them like, why are they doing this? Have they got any experience making products? And then they found that they'd made 2 or 3 games and abandoned them all. One of which was essentially looking like the precursor for the day before, which was a survival game, but more of like an isometric top-down style. And that released, people liked it, and then they abandoned the game and then started working on the day before. Then, of course, their videos, which still don't exist on their YouTube page because they got DMCA'd, started to be removed their game got removed from Steam, which, bear in mind, at one point the day before was the most wishlisted, most popular game on Steam.
I had it on my wish list.
It got
super stoked after I seen this vertical slice.
And then somebody who is an official representative of theirs popped up and said, "Oh, it's just a bug, it'll be back in a couple of hours." Wasn't, of course, because it was removed due to a trademark dispute. And then they came out like the legends that they are and said, "Oh, somebody stole the trademark," which didn't happen. What actually happened is they made a game for multiple years, allegedly, didn't trademark it, released a trailer that got millions of views and a bunch of hype and became the most wishlisted game on Steam, didn't trademark it, and then waited another year before they put in a trademark, which somebody who already owned the day before, which is a calendar app apparently, did so before them when they saw somebody trying to use the name that they already used for their business, which is perfectly valid in my opinion, but I'm not 100% sure whether or not there's some nuance here that I'm missing. And then after months and months where it was going through the process, they reached out to Fntastic and were like, "Oh, you need to respond by this date because somebody else is taking the trademark that you've also registered," and they didn't. And then the trademark went to this guy, and then he started removing the videos and sending them a cease and desist, essentially saying, "Stop using my trademark for your game," which, again, I do believe is valid because it went through a year's process where they could have done something about it and didn't.
All right.
And then Fntastic
Completely
thought
fair,
it was
in my
a
opinion.
fantastic idea to come out and say, "Oh, it's out of our hands. How could we have known? Oh, that's crazy. How could we have even possibly foresaw that not registering the name of our game would have been a problem?" And said, of course, this is now going to cause a near year-long delay, whereas upgrading the entire game from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5 was going to take an 8-month delay. Numbers might be off a little bit. I'm using, the addled brain that I have in this project where it's just all messed up and jumbled. I'm forgetting some of the other key components as well. They also at one point released a video where they were like, the culture of volunteering at Fntastic, where essentially they say everybody's a volunteer, which is just untrue. That's not how work actually functions. If somebody pays you to do something, you're not a volunteer, you're an employee. But obviously what they were doing there is saying, "Oh, we do use volunteers, but everyone's a volunteer, so here's a layer of abstraction and some obscurity so you don't know who's actually just having their labor exploited to make a AAA game that we're fully funded for, allegedly, by Mytona, our publisher." I can keep going here, because obviously they're also partnered with Nvidia, and Nvidia recently have asked them, "Prove to us the game exists," and I don't think anything's came of that so far, so we'll have to wait and see what actually happens with that. I could be wrong.
Nvidia needs to drop them.
There was also the time that Mytona released a developer blog where they were like, "Oh, come and check out new behind-the-scenes footage of the day before, it's going to be amazing," and then use the entire video to push an app that they developed that nobody cares about and nobody wants, which is seemingly something they just repeatedly keep doing. So everything about this is fucking sketch. Everything about this is sketch. And then when everyone was going hard at them, they said, "Come tune in for this devlog, and this is going to clear everything up." And then this was the devlog. It was just some woman we've never seen before showing us footage from the game how it used to be, which in my opinion, looked better than what the game looks like now. So they show here, this was the old game where it was heavily stylized, really,
it's a vertical slice,
really suited what they were going for. And then this is the new game where the character has been downgraded so much.
It's the vertical slice on the left, and this is the actual gameplay that they made in a week.
Much over the last 2 years that it looks like the entire body is one just smooth texture. If anyone's bad at Photoshop, open Photoshop and get a character and just use the smudge tool, and that's what this character's textures look like. It's just bad. It doesn't look good. The game world looks uninspired and boring. It's just a downgraded version of The Division, which originally the big selling point
Dog water
of the day before was, did they steal assets from The Division? Because this looks amazing. This looks like something from a AAA game dev studio. But then they've downgraded it to the point where it doesn't look good. It looks like something that came out 6 or 7 years ago. And I know that sounds nitpicky, because it does still, it looks fine. I'm not a big graphics, it has to look photorealistic. But I do think indie dev studios should go for that stylized approach, because it ages so much better This already looks dated and will look even more dated. And this was some of the original trailer where it looked considerably better. But essentially this video was just showing the differences between what it used to look like versus what it looks like now. This is old, this is new, and I just think it looks way worse. I don't think I'm alone in that. But this was apparently their video of this definitely exists. This game 100% exists. We've been developing it and it's of course almost ready. Which my opinion is they've probably been developing the game, but they're nowhere near finishing the game. And there's been a lot of stuff come out. There was a leak from a Russian website which I covered recently where they were talking about how the company is just an absolute fucking mess. How these two people just scream at everybody all the time, come into the office and tell people to stop doing what they were doing and work on something else, and then basically just like go over work they'd already done and just completely ruin it. And they're just useless as bosses, and the game is probably never going to release. And the article concludes with some of the employees anonymously saying, you know, if these people essentially are still in charge, we don't see how it can ever be made. And people just repeatedly quit because we're being worked to the fucking bone like dogs. And then 2 days ago they released this, and I don't fucking know what is going on. But this is just full of bots. Either bots in the sense that they're, you know, paid for comments, or bots in the sense that they just don't have functioning brains and they're essentially hooked into the system, and they just see something and they're just like, wow, that's amazing.
And they're still using the title day before.
This is the video they released. And this confused the fuck out of me. Where as soon as I saw the title, Postapocalyptic Sport, everybody's talking about, does this game even exist? Why are they so useless? Why are they doing all these terrible...
Why the fuck is this even in the game? Oh my god, what are they doing, bro? Oh my god. I'm so glad this fucking game is... I'm glad I realized this game is what it is. I'm glad I keep up with this shit, because this game is going to be absolute garbage and dog shit if it does come out. But I don't even think it's going to drop.
Things that make no sense whatsoever. And their answer is, let's post a 1-minute video of a character sitting in a spa.
It has nothing to do with this fucking game.
I mean, I'm convinced. Nobody could ever be not convinced by this.
This has nothing to do with the fucking game. What I'll be doing
with my game time when I'm in the day before, because it's definitely going to come out and it's definitely going to be a good game. And that's it. This is the video. Walked into a spa, which is one room with a bunch of NPCs not moving. They might as well have been fucking T-posing. And there you go, November 10th, 2023, it's allegedly coming out. So yeah, walked into a room, there's a bunch of NPCs sat around, pressed F.
Bro, it's supposed to be about apocalypse and zombies, and they show a guy sitting in a spa for a fucking minute. How is this gameplay footage?
Bruh.
There's our game. Convinced? And of course, that's the update. I know the vast majority of this video was just catching you up on the lore, but obviously not everybody follows all of this, and it's just worth talking about because the whole thing is, it's like a fucking fever dream at this point. I had dry socket a week ago. I probably still have a little bit. It still hurts a little bit, and that was less painful than watching this shit and trying to like make sense in my brain of what they're doing. But there we go. Thanks for watching as always. See you next time. Peace out.
That was a pretty good review. Oh god, that game is just, it's gonna be fucking terrible. I would be surprised if the game does launch, and if it does, it's gonna be dog watered down fucking garbage. Hey guys, if you like the video, make sure you head over to the page, hit that like button, scroll over, smash that subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get notified for future video drops, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.